The Japanese military is trying to run down a guy on a moped, but to no avail. If he gets to the city, then everyone will die. Hi guys, in touch Avranzet. Today I will tell you about the anime memories of the future. Stink bomb. An outbreak of colds has begun in Japan. People are getting infected with influenza and SARS. Hospitals are overcrowded. Nobuo Tanaka also fell ill. He comes to the hospital to get vaccinated and get well soon. However, his nose still runs and he sneezes every minute. Nobuo works in a laboratory where they create experimental drugs. He is an ordinary laboratory assistant who has to fiddle with papers a lot. Having been vaccinated, he goes to work. Colleagues see that Nobuo does not feel well. He blows his nose and sneezes all the time. They advise him to take the new cold pills that are on the boss's desk. This is the latest development that has not yet been launched for sale. When Nobuo was carrying papers to sign for his boss, he decides to ask him for a couple of capsules to get well soon. However, there is no one in the boss's office. Nobuo finds the correct vial, takes out several capsules, and drinks one of them. After that, he returns to work, but he gets too sleepy and goes to take a nap. The girls at the information desk in the lab were discussing how one of them had spent her vacation, and suddenly they smelled an unfamiliar smell. He seemed pleasant to them. However, both were worried. The same smell was felt by the rest of the laboratory workers. Even the lab rats began sniffing the unfamiliar scent. Having discovered that someone touched the experimental pills, the chief of laboratory assistants breaks into their office and arranges an interrogation. One of Nobuo's colleagues admits that it was Tanaka who came to him for cold pills. The boss is furious. After all, these were not cold pills, but a secret development. The lab assistants tell him where Nobuo went, and the boss rushes to his office to the control panel of the security system. Meanwhile, the ventilation in the lab is doing its job. It pumps out dirty air from the premises and pumps up clean air from the street into it. Waking up, Nobuo feels great. He had a good rest, the cold was gone, and the day outside the window is just magical. Satisfied with his recovery, he goes to his own. Then he sees a girl at the information desk. It seems that she fell asleep, but when Nobuo tried to wake her up, he realized that she was dead. In fear, he runs to the lab and sees that all his colleagues have fallen dead. Even the rats died in their cages. Nobuo rushes to the phone and calls an ambulance and the police. Then he runs to the chief's office. He understands that if there were an accident in the laboratory and a dangerous virus escaped from the test tubes, an alarm would be raised. However, in the chief's office, he discovers his corpse in front of the control panel. Nobuo realizes that the chief for some reason turned off the accident warning system. He turns it on, and immediately the protection works. All entrances to the laboratory are blocked, the siren starts, the monitors on the control panel turn on. Through monitors, Nobuo is addressed by an unfamiliar man. He just found out about what happened when the guy turned on the alarm. Realizing that the lab chief is dead, he asks Nobuo to find some secret documents and drugs, and then deliver their headquarters to Tokyo. Nobuo understands that this man asks to bring those capsules that he took for cold pills. The stranger's name is Nirasaki. He leads the development of a new drug. This drug was created secretly by order of the government. Having collected everything necessary, Nobuo takes a bicycle and goes to Tokyo. On the way, he sees a flock of crows dying right in the air. One of them pounces on him, and Nobuo flies over the fence. Here he sees that something strange is happening to the plant world. Different types of plants began to bloom violently at the wrong time for this. Nobuo gets out on the road and sees that the ambulances and the police he called crashed on the way to the laboratory. While Nobuo was traveling to Tokyo, a council consisting of the head of the government and the military of different countries gathered there. Nirasaki came to them with a report with his boss, the head of a pharmaceutical company. They briefly outlined what was happening and where this unbearable smell was coming from, killing people and animals. Turns out, they developed special protection against weapons on behalf of the government. and one of the mixtures had a very unusual effect. Meanwhile, people are being evacuated from cities near the laboratory. Correspondents in protective masks remove the city from a helicopter, and then they see a man on the roof waving a flag. The journalists decide to stage an epic live rescue, but the person they want to save turns out to be Nobuo. Next to him, the murderous smell becomes unbearable, and the journalist and cameraman die on the spot. However, the camera manages to capture Nobuo's face. His secret headquarters learn that the epicenter of the disaster is moving. They believe that the gas formed as a result of accidents in the laboratory is carried by the wind. Nirasaki reports that he asked an employee of the research center to bring to the headquarters a sample of the drug that caused such an effect. Then he and his boss realize that this employee is the epicenter of the disaster, that it is his body that produces a deadly gas. The military who evacuated civilians are already preparing to leave. They see how the same gas rises in the distance and are ready to go. But then a man emerges from the fog. The military decides to save him too. However, approaching Nobuo, they die. Realizing that this guy was exuding gas, the soldiers jumped into their cars and rushed away from this place. Nobuo ran after them. He does not understand why people are afraid of him and run away when he appears. Far from the big cities, Nobuo had relatives. When the guy's face was shown on TV, his grandmother was worried about her grandson. She understands that the boy is in big trouble. The secret headquarters finally figured out by what principle Nobuo's body produces such volumes of deadly gas. The more he worries, the more actively gas is produced. To stop this production, he must be calmed down or killed, and the military is almost ready to finish off Nobuo. However, the representative of the United States is opposed. His country has been investing in this research, and now he wants to get a biological weapon sample alive. Despite this, tanks are being withdrawn on the street, fighter jets and combat helicopters are rising into the air. Grandmother Nobuo is brought in on one of the helicopters. She asks her grandson not to go to Tokyo. Nobuo wonders what's going on. A sniper opens fire on him from a helicopter, but the smell of gas is so strong that his eyes water under a gas mask and he misses. Then fighters, tanks, and rocket launchers come into play. They fire hundreds of missiles at Nobuo. However, all projectiles rush past the target. The gunners realize that the gas emitted by Nobuo creates radio interference. It causes equipment to fail. Rockets start hitting residential buildings, tanks collide, fire at each other, and explode. And Nobuo rushes from this chaos on a moped, spreading an increasingly strong smell. Panic breaks out in Tokyo. People are headlong trying to leave the city, fly to another country, but they don't succeed. The Japanese authorities are already willing to take extreme measures, but the Americans have an ace up their sleeve. They created special, extra strong, and ultra-reliable spacesuits that can be used to capture and neutralize Nobuo. And suspecting Nobuo is slowly but surely moving towards Tokyo. He enters the tunnel and then it is blown up. The military settled down at the other end of the tunnel. They started huge fans to keep the gas from escaping. They want to flood the tunnel with liquid nitrogen and freeze Nobuo. At this time, a helicopter arrives with people in protective suits. They head towards the tunnel, but the officer in charge of the freeze operation warns them of the danger. After all, the gas began to condense. It even has lightning bolts. However, it seems that nothing can scare people in spacesuits. They go inside and find a frightened Nobuo. They try to grab him, only the guy gets scared even more. The lightning strikes again. Finally, the command is informed that the gas has subsided. The cameras show how the body is carried out of the tunnel in a protective casing. A military man in one of the spacesuits is brought to the headquarters to outline the details of the operation. A man wearing a hazmat suit comes inside. In his hands he holds the same suitcase that Nobuo had. It contains secret documents and a sample of pills. The military congratulate the man on a successfully completed mission, but then Nobuo's face appears from behind the protective glass. He is happy that he was finally able to fulfill Nirosaki's order and delivered the package to the headquarters. The command flees in panic, but Nobuo is already removing his helmet to greet them. A deadly gas bursts out from under the helmet, filling everything around. It's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.